All right, everybody. I am returned. I've had quite a day trying to get everything squared away. Thus, the whole test stream thing. And yeah, hopefully everything's going to work tonight. Not give me any problems. Let's see. Seems like everything's working fine. Alright, gotta switch over here. Okay. Fingers crossed. Clicky click. Click click. Click. Give me. Oh, I'm having a controller in my hand. Uh, what a day, what a day. All right. Dude, version 1.0 is amazing, by the way. So many activities. The only problem I'm having so far is that they put some of this stuff behind, like rockets. Cannot make rockets anymore. Now I need special stuff to make rockets that I don't have yet. So that's kind of shitty, but that's okay. Whole bunch of chests in here for now until I get the advanced chest figured out. All the things. The things. Oh, I don't want that there. Nope, get over there. Eat it. I want to know what the fuck this is. Flying bird ring. Put it that way. One of the better birds, but it's not as fast as the jet dragon, which I already have one. Which they put that behind some crazy earning wall now too. That's okay, I guess. They do what they want. This? Where's the accessories? Here? No. Here. Do I not have one yet? Vengeance of Diligence. The fuck does it do? Huh. Okay. I need to do this. How? And some of this. President just put the berries with the other berries. One of these has yes. Oh, that shows primo. What? What are you? Hold on. Just do mining well. Is that a big cube guy? Hold on. Just for now. Is Minecraft turtle. Whoa. Thing is huge. All right. I love doing rid of all the stuff. Kind of. I think that's good. Wait a minute. What? Where's the other blips? Filter? Oh. Oh? What the fuck? Why isn't anything showing up? Oh, I didn't go. It's like, wait a minute. Oh, I need to turn the game on. Game sound on. And it turned off. Streamed in a little while. You don't. Liar. Pinky? I kid. Ooh, a supply drop too? Ooh, this place is wide open. Once this refills, little cheat, kinda. For now. He killed the whole village. No. Ah, bitch. How the fuck are you up in here? Get you in your ball. The cat was like, messages. Run away. She was sitting right next to me. I'm gonna turn the aim up a little bit. Aw. In a cage, in a cage. Here you go, buddy. No way I killed them all, is there? I think there is... This?
Yep.
Oh. Oh, it's outside. Ooh. Like a Gatling gun, laser gun. This thing. It's stuck. It's stuck. Too big. Yeah, I need to fix aim. It's weak. Little bit goes a long way. Hot tub room. Oh, dude, that room would be so moist all the time. There used to be something called the Hot Tub Club. Years ago. Probably stuff like that around somewhere. If I can do this. No? See. Only one way to find out. Need to do that. Oh, you just tap it? Okay. Tap it, then hold. Gotcha. Oh, you got one of those too. Actually, you know what? I think I died to you once. It means I'll probably die again. That's okay. He's well distracted, I'll give her that. Question is, will she catch on fire and stay on fire? Yes. Oh, no, she's gonna do that. Ah, cannot move. Hit? Oh, okay. Nice. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Wrong button. Oh, run, jump. Nice. Oh, need some more moves can actually move while shooting. Possibly, maybe. Oh, nice. Ooh, you get a whole bunch of those. Sphere of Lust? What? Lusty what? Oh, I don't know how I feel about this. They did make a dating game. Putting that in the inventory forever. To never go back if that's the case. That's just a bit much for the Power World. We're just pals, guys. Just pals, guy. Um, well, that did a whole lot of goodness for me. That will allow me to get one more weapon slot. We're just pals, old buddy, old friend of mine. Login site. Oh, did I pass it up? There's one. I did pass it up, man. Gotta put points into it, right? Yep. Woohoo! I still haven't made the first one. That's what I was in the middle of doing. There was a whole bunch of things I need to make. And there's some things I need they added to the beginning of this list. By the way, if they would ever see something like this, you guys really need to optimize your this menu screen. It is slow and the computer hates it and it lags out. And it's just a menu screen. Needs some optimization. Jeez. Sitting over here watching TV too, and this dude started screaming. "Ah." And he's just talking, man. He's just loud as fuck, boy. That's right. I need a surgery table. Surgery. I don't know where it is. I bet you it's on the right of it. Oh, I need wooden board. I've seen that in the crafting menus. Okay, then back through the house plant set. I'm not missing a damn thing. A lot of this is just cosmetic shit. Azurabe. I hope that's how it's pronounced. That's a fun word. Bow. Tropical greenery. Bah. Mushroom cake. Bazombo. Oh yeah, I still need to make a fishing rod too. The things, all the things. They still have room for more things. I bet you they're gonna fill the whole entire thing up eventually. Because when they added stuff, they added low level stuff and high level stuff. And medium level, obviously, but all the way through. Even with the pals too, not just the items. So most of the things I need down here. And it's weird this came further down too. This assembly bench. Crazy. Me and the wife both. I think it's on video. We got her a cyber, or a I want to say Saber Dragon, Jet Dragon, and then we both had a fight with the Palladius and the Necromus, and she took the Necromus and her Jet Dragon that I got for her, and they disappeared. She had them on her person. She went to her profile, and the game was like, yoink, and didn't give it back to me. What? Where's this fucking surgery table? Surgery and haircuts. Premium haircuts and surgery. Each haircuts. Look over there while I was scrolling down. Idge. A completely separate thing. Watch, I already have it unlocked and I'm just scrolling past stuff. I don't think I do. I do. Okay. Corrosive solvent. Yeah, I haven't made any of that yet. New to me. Oh, more bad guys or good guys here? Good guy. Have you ever heard of a shroomer knocked? Ooh, it's a pal that lives in the mushroom wetlands. Seems that its spores make everything super chill. Oh, yeah? It's a great way to just like feel totally relaxed. You gotta try it, my dude. Hell yeah, let's go. Where's this swamp? Oh, hold on. I know where that is. Down here. Dude, if you can make trippy mushrooms from pals, like you're just eating mushrooms off your animals, eh. I mean, trip balls, I guess. It's the thing. No tripping is technically portion. Yeah, guys, isn't it? Yes. Too high up. Get out here and fight me. Wait, what? Where'd you fools come from? Guess they came out to fight about it, huh? Oh, they ain't dead. I thought they were dead. They stuck? They are stuck. Ah. Oh, still some alive. Whoa! Need to reload. Why won't I reload? I'm not out of ammo. Ah! Help! Get me out of this place. Trapped. Getting all fuckered up in there. No? Not so lucky. I don't think I can get him from in there without that one move. Aha! Got a few of them. There we go. What's this move? Whoa. What the hell's happening? Alright, we're going in. Oh. They've gotten that one out in the first place, huh? Damn. Was a bit crazy. All three of those pals could blast through walls. I'm just getting fuckered up in there. Gotta be more stuff. Give me your treasures, bitches. I guess that's about it, huh? Doors inside the doors and the doors to the doors. More doors. Ooh, okay. Now get the fuck out. Ooh, these good things. Oh my god. How much of those love peaches or whatever the fuck they are? Kinship peach. Full max. Probably going to definitely keep these two for sure. No matter what, because of how fast they are. I mean, I'm always going to get more of these things anyways. That for nothing. Ooh. More of these, please. Paper lantern. Mama Rest curry. It probably just tastes like curry with a little sprinkle of a Mama Rest. This curry just blows everything up. Not a bad thing if you like curry and you want it every time you sprinkle it on everything, because it only takes a little bit and it's going to taste like curry. Only curry. Is that a reason to go back right now? Yeah, we're right next to a warp. And I mean, we got some fast tiles anyways. Ooh, cave right there. Ooh, you're special? Hold on, don't kill him. Hold on, don't kill him. Yeah. You can hurt me a little bit. Hurt him. Hurt. What's the pain? Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know he had so much health. Didn't know better. Hold on, let me do this. Daydream will attack more often like that. Daydream's meant to not kill. Not allowed to kill. Which is perfect as a pal that sticks by your side. That's why I was just trying to coax it to attack without pulling it out. Because it doesn't take as much damage if it's just side kicking at the moment. But it also doesn't attack very often, so. What do you mean tip? Breaking. Break the ceiling stone. Where? Because I've never had to do. Oh, these? Okay. I'm gonna say, it's usually a hack, like a puzzle of some sort, or an enemy. One more? Two more? We do it? Nice. Give me that. Who's it? What's it now, is it? Lylene's something or another. Lylene's talisman schematic. What? Ooh. I have to see what that talisman did. But first, restroom room. Right. Where are you at? We need to color code these. Okay. I have too many scenes. That's all there is. Alright.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, let's go to a commercial break.
Come on down to Pete Lee's Used Cars. These cars are actively being used. I don't own them, but I don't care. I'll still sell them to you. There's a family inside this car. Take them or leave them. $50 unless you'll pay $60. Make your way on over to Pete Lee's Used Cars, conveniently located next to the sign. Pete Lee's Used Cars. I don't know. I'm just trying things.
Welcome back again. A new bombshell report has just come out showing that they are still being used as shells for bombs. We'll keep you updated as these bombshell reports are released. But first, we are getting in word that the sun is gone. For more on this, we go to Stephen Lee Curry. Stephen Lee.
Stanley, I stood here on the Pacific coast watching the sun slowly sink into the ocean like the movie about that big boat sinking.
My God, how could something so massive have sunk?
It was an iceberg, Danley.
An iceberg sunk a star.
DiCaprio, yes.
We're sending thoughts and prayers. Give them 3 to 5 business days.
Could you send cash instead?
Speaking of money, the stock market continues to exist. Let's check in with our market analyst, Badley Bunny. Badley, how are the numbers looking these days?
Still like letters.
Watch out, stairs. There's a new tech in town called escalators. We here at Channel 12 have just found out about this disruptive technology that hypes you'll never have to stare at a stair again. Stairs are cooked. It is officially over for stairs. They will be 100% replaced by escalators. But it does beg the question, who controls these new artificial inclines? To find out, we sent investigative reporter Chrisley Pratt to our local mall. Chrisley, what have you learned?
Well, I think I've just gotten to the bottom of this, Stanley, and I can tell you it goes all the way to the top.
All the way up to the Illuminati, huh?
Actually, I think it's an H&M up there.
Sorry, Chrisley, we need to drop everything because a car chase is happening. Let's go to our eye in the sky, Timothy Chalamet.
We lost the light. We're going down.
To get a closer look at the chase, that's a good idea.
I knew this is how it would end. Send love to my wife.
She's not really my type. Moving on, the NBA Finals were this past week. For his reaction, we go to our sports reporter, Morgan Lee Freeman. Morgan Lee.
Stanley, I just want to take this sports instance to address my recent incarceration due to a heinously accurate guilty verdict where they're just looking for someone to blame for the things I did. And for some reason, they're pointing the finger at me. It's a conspiracy, Danley. You got to ask yourself, who benefits from having me locked up? My victims? How high up does this go? H&M?
Morgan Lee, were you going to talk about the game?
I'm talking about the biggest game of all, Danley, the one where they are accusing me of my actions.
I lost a lot of money on that game. Coming up, Santa Claus is coming to town early to sue Coca-Cola for using his likeness.
Okay. Wow. Get that shit out of here. Yeah. And he's going now? Yes. Yes. Ooh. And he's going now. Yes. Laser rifle, huh? I don't even think I have that unlocked yet. So that's nice to see, but I don't even know if I can make it. Let's find out. Oh, well, everybody's asleep. I should probably sleep too, or they won't help me make nothing. I got a couple night owls. Stay up all night. Even these menus lag out a little bit. Even when I'm not streaming. It's just laggy right now. Whoa. This plasma. Laser right. Got Lingon? No. Dis. Bio battery and computer. Oh. Now I need you guys to make me some assault rifle bullets. Fuck it. Now, make computers and other things, and what's it, the thingies? What's this? How defense. Whoa! Overall PAL defense up, level 4. I've never even seen that. Palgrass damage enhancement. Yeah, make that. My pals get hurt way easier and faster than I do. Let's see. Oh, what's this? Gotta do it, I guess. Sacrifice my own defense for their own, and it'll balance out a little bit, maybe. I do need to make a better shield, better armor. But I did pretty good on that one fight. So we need some of these. Now I need computers. Correct? I think I need like 10 of those too. Oh, and they take bio batteries to make. Cool. Let me double check real quick. Oh, that'd be down here. Actually, let me double check to make sure I don't already have one. Don't. Three computers. 6 bio batteries. A little bit of help from the homies. Won't do anything. I just don't. It's such a hard decision if I'm gonna keep some of the. I wish you could have more pals on you at once too. You know, that's just a slippery slope, but I wish I could put my Splat Arena back on my team right now, but I don't want to. At the same time, I like the team I got. Okay, so I need bio batteries for that. 500 shots, okay. You guys get on that. I'll make some more bio batteries up. Ooh. And that. Maybe that first. So you get on that. Share the load. All kinds of stuff going at once. Oh, dude, it should not be you. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Yeah. Fuck out of here. Please, Snaky boy. Get over here. Please, where are you? Oh, thank you. So much better at that. Ooh, that's right, I need to get some wooden boards made up. See that here? I think it was over here, wasn't it? Yep. Put up. And nope. No, don't go nowhere. Ooh. Carbon fiber. Okay. See, I'm not a big fan of this thing yet. And I just don't know if I need to keep it on me for a while. Well, I am a fan of it. Like a ghost inside of a gigantic square Minecraft-like body. What's going on over here, guys? We killing innocent creatures that ended up in here. Here we are. We need more handiwork going on here. Materials required for producing PAL gear. Sense of base PALs. What? So, okay, work speed. Here we go. Oh, I don't have enough. Gunpowder and circuit boards? Why? Some random ass shit. Go. Now, what's the other one required? High quality wood board and carbon fiber. Okay. We need a bunch of carbon fiber. Yeah. I think I need to take the wood and then that gets turned into high quality wood, or I need to go get hardwood to make high quality wood. Yeah. You don't have to go do that right now. Got the extra slot. I'm gonna put over there. Another weapon. Don't have another weapon on me. Put the fishing rod over there. Okay. Want to put a homing sphere module on eventually. Fuck yeah, I'll just put those in there. Now. Wait a minute. The laser rifle. That's right. Where the fuck did that go? Should have that on me. Okay, it's right here. I have to go find the ammo they moved. Okay. Whatever, dude. Motherfuckers. I'm putting stuff away all automatically like. How dare you? As well. Oh. Well, no. That's gonna be more tricky. You can't have a second guild chest, so what would I remove from here? That wouldn't want to, you know, craft at another place. I guess that doesn't need to be in there, does it? Making clothing. Make clothing. That's not to make clothing, though. Whoa. Give me that. That. Right? Well. Oh, okay. This is the place I've been putting those. Hey, why not? Nope, can't put that in there. What is that labeled as, anyways? Production good. Means I can put it in here. Yep. Okay. So while I'm gone, I can whip up more of those. And while it's doing that, I can cancel it though. Yeah. So this probably will eventually replace my assault rifle. I have auto aim on. Oh, I hate that. What? Tell me I can't turn off auto aim. Ah, there it is. I already had it out. Why do I only have 23 bullets for this thing? I was supposed to have 500. See, what can you do? Whoa! Holy shit! You nearly one-shotted him. Nice. Make it. Oh. Where's my bullets? Give me my bullet. Yeah, these. Goozy. I still don't have them. What's going on? I have this assault rifle. Get out of my face. Laser rifle bullets. What? Laser Gatling cartridge. What an idiot. That's why. Timothy Jones. Jesus. Where are they? Where are they all the way up here? What? This them? No. Can I just... Is this him? Yep. Yippers. Fuck it. Make a whole shit ton of them. Why not? Do all the things. Well, whenever I do end up making a laser Gatling gun or whatnot, I will have 1,000 bullets for that motherfucker. Okay. Say less. You wouldn't say less. Oh, yay! I had it already queued up, motherfuckers. Yeah, bitches. Just do it. 820. Make them. I'm going to leave. Let them do that thing. Just deal with the fact I'm not going to have many bullets for that. Why can't I pick? What's going on? There. What are you doing? Stop it. We gotta be so stupid, game. God. That's right. There's like other towers up in the go defeat, right? No. We got this one. Hold on, let's see. Filter. Want. Let me see where the oil rigs are. Defeated. 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 Recently defeated. Over here. Yes, over here. What about this one? Is there anyone over here? The same one. Defeated. Okay, we got most of them. We got bounties to do. We still have one to do. On as well. Button off the bottom of the screen. Annoying. Quite looks like the door ever. Well, I die. I see Grandpa. Damn, Grandpa is cut. Has he even bent his arms? Bjorn does not have to eat. Oh. Oh, not that one. That does a decent amount of damage. I mean, I guess fire, ice. I think he's mad at me. I'm doing more damage than the other guys at this point. And that guy's taking 0 damage for the most part. That's the one thing the Duelith does have, is a ridiculous amount of defense. He's doing barely any damage to this thing. Crazy. To be fair, I shouldn't even have the dual lift. I was just exploring, and I got some very high level power balls out of nowhere. And I only got like 7 of them, but I did end up getting a few super high level characters. There's like 2 very, very weird looking islands with holes in the middle of them. That's where one of the dual lift came from. There's a green one too, but I killed it. Actually, I'm gonna blame my daydream, because it wasn't supposed to kill pals, but it did. A few times. Just compare, contrast here. how much damage he does to her. Oh yeah. Good night, night, Ice Grandpa. Ice Paw. Oh. Straight ahead, huh? Oh, is it just a meteorite? I have so much meteorite fragments. So many. Yeah, you gonna get involved too? Do it. Get in there. Won't get in there. Want to see them fight. Oh. Going. Is it retreating? Oh. You're picking a fight. Oh, now you're picking a fight with me. I already have a bunch of these things. They're pretty much like a jet dragon, but they don't leave the ground. Zombie. Headbutt me, you motherfucker. Do something. I don't think you can fly here or not. I would hate to find out the hard way. I don't think there's anything to do down in here. Like any buildings they added. The raid. Get some super high level gear. Don't look like they added any buildings to this place, and if they did, it's not down in this area. Whole bunch of PAL souls all over the place. That's nice. You can just run and pick them up as you're riding around too. Almost like I'm going way too fast for the game to be able to keep up. Or graphics card, one or the other. Looking for new pals, too. They added a whole bunch. It's just kind of sprinkled in different biomes all over the place. They should add breeder-specific pals, like more of them, I should say. There was, or is, a couple dozen? But, I mean, you can capture some of them. Be cool if you can do a mix and make all kinds of crazy things. Ooh, what's that? I've got some of those. Fine. Holy crap, dude. So many. Everywhere. So much incentive just to run around and pick those things up everywhere. Okay, where is the nearest summoning or teleporter, I should say? Yeah? Triple jump is just madness. I love it. Who are you? Yeah, I want to know more about bounties. The human collector? This guy's a real nut job who collects people. Start off with dollies, but then he's decided, I can't be satisfied unless they're real. Now, whenever he finds someone, he's like, I want you to add you to my collection and chuck a PAL sphere at him. Crazy bastard. Can you believe it? He's actually captured people with those PAL spheres. Me too. Even his buddies are folks he caught with them. Word is he's lurking around a ship graveyard to the west, hunting for his next victim. Dude, wouldn't that be funny if you died because you got caught by a ball or you got turned into a PAL? It'd be funny if there's a whole. Oh, it's red. Yeah, bitch, I see you. Oh, is it a predator or is it just a... Might be just a boss. Oh. Eyes are glowing red though, and it's got a red aura about it. Oh. Predator cores are super rare. So are predator pals. And it's got different powers. I gotta put that thing away, it will kill them. Do I have anything? I have a legendary ultimate spheres. It died? No! No! God dang it. Wanted to catch it. What killed it? Daydream, I swear to God. You're set to not kill things. I'm curious if you can actually capture as a predator variant. You see how fast that thing was? And they're just throwing these weird red spells around. I want one. I think you need an exotic sphere though. So this is a place where you can find one. I don't know if it's just a random occurrence or if this is like a high likelihood area. I don't know how that shit works. Is it like some Pokemon Go shit and you just got like hot spots? That. Oh, I know what you are. See, normally, I'm not supposed to kill it. Just reduce it to 1 health. But I'm not sure what the hell killed it. The daydream just showed everyone it can't kill something. Maybe there was some type of effect that Palladius did that was affecting it. Above and beyond what was going on with the daydream? I don't know. Or it was him. He's got his gun out. Found someone counterfeiting gold. A piece of work. He's a genius craftsman with a PIDF. Got this crazy idea to make fakes better than the real thing. And get this, not even about the money for him. They say it costs him more to make those fake coins than the real ones are worth. He's been spotted gathering materials near a big crystal to the southeast. These guys go show up on the map. The west. There's a graveyard. Ship graveyard over here. Here. This is east. It would be west. Gotta be over this way somewhere. I don't think I can fly. See. They're really gonna allow me to fly here? Nervous to even take off. Shot down and killed. Maybe it's because I beat that tower? I'm going the wrong way. I'm go west. West! Flapjack stuff. Uh-oh. Yeah. Okay. So we weren't allowed to fly. Why was it letting me fly for a second then? I'm going up. And I'm going to get off of here. There. Like these on the way, I guess. We what do I need to do? Break the stones? Okay. Man, dude. Ozark's talisman. So, like a strip graveyard, huh? Supposedly. You gonna shoot me down for floating? Bitch. Fuck's this ship graveyard? I've been all out there. I do believe. Bro, so many. I am loving it here. All this good stuff. Just chilling. Oh, and I need a bunch of those too. Well, I see there's something out there. It's like an oil rig, though. It looked like a ship graveyard to me. This is gonna be a super high level one too, I bet. I don't think it's a good idea to come here. I'm gonna end up dying. Hold on. The one I think it is? Yeah, I've been here before. What? Where's this graveyard of ships? Lying. Lying ass motherfucker. Maybe it's up in here. Oh, I see a ship sticking out. Yep, it's gotta be it. Where are you, bitch? Fight! Yeah, yeah. Ah, here we go. Damn. Any further into the water, I wouldn't be able to get you out of here. Huh? Is that not the guy? Hmm. Aha! Found the guy. I should probably try to capture the human collector. That would be great. Damn. Kind of impervious to fire, huh? I'm gonna catch a human collector. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna have to waste a lot of balls. Try to catch people. The likelihood is extremely low compared to pals. Come on. Aha! I caught you, motherfucker! You're mine. Wish you get an achievement for that. Human catching the human collector. Alright, let's get the fuck out of here. Like, on the quickness, because I don't want to go find a way out. I want to just get out. I want to go home. Oh, you know what? This will probably take me to that one place I built here. Then I can warp home. Let's see what the human collector can do. If he has any special skills. Put him to work. I have to... See? Where's Cash? There's Cash. I got Cash him outside. Oh yeah. I'm gonna put his ass to work. Got some things he can do. More than anybody else. Kinda makes me wonder if they can actually fight now. Because you couldn't make them fight. Or keep them as like a pal. Yeah. Work the yard. Break them rocks. Bitch. Hold on, wait, what? Jump power? Yes, please? Oh, hell yeah. Jump power. That's crazy talk. Is that just for me, or the pals, or both, or what? One, other? Wow, that's a whole lot. Hmm. Gotta do it. So close. So close. One of the strongest pals I have. And it's so great it can't do kills. Can't do the matters on the pals. Oh, is that it? One. Ooh. This. Sure. Man, my brain is cooked from today. I literally off and on worked on this computer for 10 hours straight. 10 hours straight. All from a big fucking boo-boo I made last night. I had to reinstall everything, and then I ended up reinstalling on the wrong fucking partition, so I had to swap a whole bunch of shit around until it was as close as I could get it without wanting to pull my hair out and scream at the same time. And then I said, fuck it. I want to play some games and stream and try everything out that I got running. Alright, I'm gonna take a break, and I think I'm going to go back and play some Outer Worlds 2. I need to set up the